our Latino community and the community out here as well. And now it is my honor and pleasure to introduce Doloras Huerta to the stage.
Thank you very much, Vanessa. And buenos dias, everybody. Good morning. Thank you very much for having me join you this morning with your all of this wonderful workshops and things you're going to be doing today. And I know you're going to be learning a lot. And I hope that whatever you learn, that you don't leave it here in this building, but that you take it with you. And you take it and you share it with all of your friends, because the knowledge that you're learning is very, very precious and very important, because we know whatever we learn, whether it's in school or in a conference like this one, that this knowledge that you have, nobody can take it away from you, right? It's right there in your head, nobody can take it away from you, but we have to share whatever we learn, we have to share it with other people, because we know that knowledge is power. Knowledge is power. And so we want to share the power that we have, because if we share the power and we share the knowledge, that means that we make not only ourselves strong, but we make other people strong. And I think that's what organizing is all about. When Cesar Chavez and myself, we learned how to organize farm workers, well, you know, that same kind of knowledge that we learned, and actually it was another man that taught us, a man named Fred Ross, un gringo, okay, an Anglo. He learned how to organize people that were poor, people that were being discriminated, and he helped them take power, like in East Los Angeles, getting the first Latino ever elected to the City Council of Los Angeles, a man named Eduardo Roybal. His daughter, Lucille Roybal, is still in the U.S. Congress. Maybe someday she will come and be able to talk to you also. But Mr. Ross, when he taught Cesar and myself how to organize, one of the things that really hooked me, and I decided to be an organizer, because he showed us how in East Los Angeles, way back in the 40s, in the days of the Zoot Suiters, that they had actually sent 14 police to prison. 14 police, they sent them to prison for beating up Mexican Americans. And when I learned that, I said, oh, I want to know how to do that, okay? I want to learn how you can organize people so that they can defend themselves. And so Cesar and I worked together in that organization. It was called the Community Service Organization, CSO. And then from there, we saw the plight of the farm workers. And Cesar had been a farm worker himself. I mean, always in his heart, he wanted to do something about the farm workers. So then he and I decided to start the Farm Workers Union. And using the same kind of organizing skills, the organizing methods that Mr. Ross taught us, that's how we organize the farm workers. And I want to share this with you, because sometimes we think in our communities we have all of these problems, and we think, no, there's nothing that we can do to solve them, but we can solve them. Remember this, the people that are being affected by the problems are always the best ones to solve the problems. Because we, who are being affected by the problems, we really know what the solutions are. But sometimes we just don't know how to make it happen. And so when we started organizing farm workers, people would say to Cesar and myself, how are you going to organize the farm workers? They don't speak English, they're not citizens, they don't have any money. How could you possibly organize them? Well, the one thing that we knew, that we were taught by Mr. Ross, is to say this to the people. You know what? You have power. You have power. And they would say, what kind of power do we have? Like I said, we're poor, you know? We don't speak English. What kind of power do we have? And we would say to the workers, the power is in your person. Think about that. The power is in your person. This is all the power that you need. All the power that you need is yourself, your body, your person. But we know that one person cannot do anything by themselves. The only way that we can make anything happen, anything change, is we've got to come together. Because if all of us come together and then we take direct action You know, not just sit there, but do something, take direct action. And when I mean direct action, I mean non-violent action. Sin violencia. Then this is how we can make the changes. But we can't do it by ourselves. We've got to make that commitment that we're going to do something. And I want to share a little joke with you. This is a joke that Caesar would say to the farm workers when we were organizing them. And this is a story about a jinete. You know, a jinete is like a horseman, no? Like a cowboy. Well, this jinete, this horseman, he was on his horse, and he was going along, galloping on his horse, and he was feeling really, really macho, right? And he had a big hat, and he had a big old whip in his hand. And as he was going down the road, he saw a little dog, and he hit the dog with a whip. And the little dog went yelping, crying away. Well, he went riding on his horse, and then he went and he saw a cow. And he coiled his whip, and he hit the cow. And the cow went moo, 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 running away, By that time he was feeling pretty strong. He thought he was feeling pretty strong. And so he went riding along, and he stopped at a tree. And he coiled his whip, and he looked up at the tree, and there was a beehive. And then he said, I better not. They are organized, okay? They are organized. So he knew better, right? He knew better, because if he hit that beehive, those bees were going to get him. And this is what it means when we're organized. When we come together, and all of us, just with our bodies, but we're all together, and then people are going to respect us. And then we can make the changes that we need to make in our communities. And we know that there's a lot of things that are wrong in our communities that we have to change. Right now we know we're fighting for immigration reform. We know that, and I want to share a couple of words with you on that one. When you talk to some of your people that you know, and they say, why should we give legalization to immigrants, right? And then we have to say to them, hey, wait a minute. When we're asking the people that are undocumented to get citizenship, hey, this is not any different than what has ever been done in our country. Because every single immigrant group that came to the United States, every single group, they became citizens, because the only people that were here, because unless you're Native American, okay? Unless you're Native American, that means that your grandparents or great-grandparents came from somewhere. No, they came from somewhere. And I love to say to all of us who are Mexican Americans or Central Americans, Latin Americans, but we can say to them, hey, we didn't cross the border.
The border crossed us.
Okay, let's all say it together. We didn't cross the border.
The border crossed us.
Okay, yeah, we were here before the border, right?
Yeah.
That's right, because the people from Peru used to migrate all the way up to New Mexico, Colorado, even up to Michigan. Michigan and Michoacan, that kind of sounds like the same word, no? Michigan, Michoacan, those are both native words, Michigan and Michoacan. So we know, but in the meantime, we have to work hard to make sure that we do get that citizenship for people here. So one of the things that we have to do, and this is where we have to take action, we have to then make phone calls to our congresspeople and to our senators. And it's really easy. We send them an email, or we just call them on the telephone and say, we want you to work really, really hard so that we can get a path to citizenship for all of our undocumented people here, because they have earned it with their hard work, right? When out there working in the fields, working in construction, working in the hotels, taking care of children, taking care of people in nursing homes, con su trabajo, they have earned it. So it's time that people here got a path to citizenship. And we know they're talking about it in the Congress right now, so we have to make sure that that really happens. And I'm going to explain this to you. It's going to be a little complicated, okay? But I know you guys are high school students, and you can understand what I'm going to say. Okay? Well, one of the things that people never ask, why do people come here in the first place? We go to Chiapas, or Oaxaca, Guatemala to go on vacation, or to Jalisco, to Michoacan. We go there, the beautiful places over there. So why do the people leave and they come here to the United States? Well, because they don't have opportunities there. They don't have jobs there. And then we say, why don't they have jobs? Because unfortunately, we have American companies, American corporations that go into Mexico and Central America, and they take over their economies. I'm going to just say the word bananas, okay? How many bananas have we eaten in our lives? A lot of bananas, right? And I was in Guatemala, and I saw the people, how poor they were in Guatemala, and I thought bananas. And then I see these big old trucks going down the road, and then they say Dole on them, Chiquita Banana. And those are American companies. So the sad thing is that the money that we pay for the bananas never goes to the people that pick the bananas, or their land where the bananas are grown. It goes to American corporations, right? Think of the corn, the maíz. Where did the corn begin? Mexico, no? The corn and maíz began in Mexico. But then, in the United States, we send all of our corn to Mexico. We send our corn, it's cheap, because we, with our tax dollars, we make the corn cheap in the United States. And then we send all the corn to Mexico. Right now, Mexico, more corn from the United States goes into Mexico than what the people in Mexico grow. So the campesino farmer over there in Mexico, he cannot compete with the United States. He cannot compete. So what happens to all of those corn farmers, los rancheros de maíz? They have to come to the United States to survive. You know, this is what happens. And then Walmart, Walmart goes into Mexico. And then they put up these big stores. And the person that has the little tiendita over there, then, they're out of work too, and they have to come to the United States. So we have to change our policies. These are called free trade agreements, okay? Free trade agreements. This is what they're called. So that means that we have to change those policies. So instead of having American companies go into Mexico and Central America, Latin America, putting their stores over there, we say, hey, why don't we use our U.S. money, our tax dollars, to help the companies in Mexico grow and become strong? Hey, we did this before. We did this in Japan and Germany. You all know about World War II, right? We had this big old war with Japan and Germany. And we defeated those countries. But hey, after the war, what we did, we sent American money, American dollars, to Japan and to Germany so that they could grow and get strong, their corporations. So we have Sony, Toyota, Mitsubishi. We know these companies, right? Honda. You know what? They got strong with American dollars. We lent them the money. It was called the Marshall Plan. And then we said to them, you don't have to pay the money back, just keep it, okay? So wouldn't that be great if instead of American corporations going into Central America and becoming what I call economic colonization, that instead we said, well, we're going to help you grow your economy so that people don't have to leave, so they can stay in their own beautiful countries and then they have jobs and have job opportunities. So these are things that we have to think about, and these are things that we can change. We can actually change these things when, we get out there and we vote and we get good people elected, like Mr. Bocanegra, who just spoke a little while ago. People like him to the Congress and say we've got to change these laws. We've got to help the people in Latin America. We've got to help them, and in Mexico, so that they could grow their own economies, right? And in the meantime, we have to keep working to get our people here so they can get their citizenship. The other thing I just want to say, and I don't know how much time I have, so somebody's going to have to give me a signal over here, but if there's countries that don't agree with us, and I'm going to mention somebody who just passed away, Hugo Chavez, the president of Venezuela. You know they call him a dictator? He was elected. He was elected to office, and he was elected with 80% of the vote. We just had an election here in Los Angeles for city council a couple of weeks ago. You know how many people voted? 16%, 1-6. Hugo Chavez was elected the president of Venezuela with 80% of the vote. And you know why the United States doesn't like Hugo Chavez? Because Hugo Chavez, he said, the oil of Venezuela belongs to the people of Venezuela. The oil of Venezuela belongs to the people. It doesn't belong to Shell and Chevron. It belongs to the people of Venezuela. And you know what he did with that oil in Venezuela, with the money from that oil? They went out there and they brought in teachers to teach the people how to read. The women who were at home, who are homemakers, they get a check every month, even if they're not working, They put in clinics for the people, so that they could have health care. And like I said, they got rid of the illiteracy in Venezuela by bringing in teachers to teach the people how to read and write. You know what the gasoline is in Venezuela right now? 27 cents a gallon. 27 cents a gallon, okay? And so we know that the war in Iraq was caused by oil, right? We wanted their oil in Iraq, and that was all the war in Iraq was about. And we know that they never had weapons of mass destruction. So Hugo Chavez said the natural resources of Venezuela, like oil, belong to Venezuela. Evo Morales, the president of Bolivia, he says the natural gas of Venezuela belongs to the people, the Bolivia. The natural gas belongs to the people of Bolivia. Now this is interesting. We in the United States, and you know this, we do not own our natural resources. We do not own our oil. It's other corporations that own our oil, our petroleum. In fact, we don't even tax our oil. In other states like Louisiana and Texas, the oil that they take out of the ground, they gotta pay a tax on it, okay? And so these are things that we have to think about. And when we think that we don't own our natural resources, that means why we are so poor. Now I'm gonna tell you about a country named Norway. Now Norway is what they call a socialist country with a big old S, okay? A socialist country. Norway is a small country. Norway has a surplus. You hear the news are talking about the deficit in the United States, and well, we're in debt, blah, 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 blah. But Norway has $400 billion surplus. In fact, they're worried that the people will forget how to work, okay? $400 billion surplus. Where do they get their $400 billion? From their oil. From their oil. You know, because again, they own their oil. Now think about all of the money that we pay for our iPhones, our iPads. Just in the Los Angeles Times last week, there was an article. The president of AT&T this year is $21 million. One person, $21 million, okay? Do you think that's right? That is so wrong, right? I mean, you think of our telephones, that should be a public utility. We should own our phone system. Why does one person make $21 million when we have people that are barely surviving on minimum wage? So these are the kind of things that are wrong in our society that have to be changed. When we have 400 people in the United States, 400 individuals that have more wealth than 1,500,000 people. 400 people have more wealth than 1,500,000 people, okay? If we look at our minimum wage, you know what our minimum wage should be today? If it would have kept up with the cost of living? Our minimum wage should be $30 an hour. That means if you're working at the Jack in the Box or McDonald's, or you're out there in the field, your wage should be $30 an hour. So you see, we have a lot of things that we have to fix. I want to mention one other country, Cuba. In Cuba, which is a very small country, it has an economic blockade by the United States, you know, and then we don't do business with Cuba, and we don't let other countries do business with Cuba. Even though Cuba is very poor, everybody has a free college education. Free college education, okay? And everybody in Cuba has free health care. If some of you want to become doctors, you can go to Cuba and become a doctor free of charge. Free of charge, okay? There's over 100 students from the United States and Cuba getting their medical degrees, becoming doctors. So these are the things that we have to fix. And in order to fix this, we have to become engaged, we have to become organized, we have to become active. You know, I know a lot of you are not old enough to vote yet, but even though you're not old enough to vote, when the next election comes around, you can go out there and volunteer, to go knocking on doors, to get other people out to vote. One of the times when I was arrested, you know, I was put in jail for trespassing, for talking to the farm workers, and when I got out of jail, there was a group of students to greet me. Just like the day when I got here, there was a group of students to greet me when I arrived. And one of the students handed me a note. It was for my 13-year-old daughter, Angela. And the note said, "Mom, I'm sorry that I can't be there to greet you. I'm out here knocking on doors to get the people out to vote." Isn't that great? My 13-year-old daughter. So, you know, you may be young, but you also have power. You also have power. And so we have to think about, you know, one thing that Hugo Chavez said, he said this, he said, to change Venezuela, he said we have to have a revolution. But he said it was a revolution, a non-violent revolution. It was an electoral revolution, no? And we had to do it through voting. He said that the changes in Venezuela are going to come about through voting. And that's the way that we can make the changes in our United States of America too, to make sure that we get good people to run for office. So just think about this, that some of you will have to be running for office at some point. Running for the school board, running for the city council, right? Just like Nori Martinez and Senor Bocanegra, you know, like he was a student also, Mr. Reza, Mr. Bocanegra, you know, he decided to run for office. So think about that too. And we have to work to get public financing so that we can, with our tax dollars, we can say we want to support people like yourselves to run for office. So that you don't have to be a millionaire to run for office. We should pay for good people to run for office, and that way we make sure that we're going to get people that are going to support the working people. The other thing too, I want to say this to the women in the room, okay? You women in the room also have to think of running for office, okay? And it's important, there was I'm going to tell you why women should run. Because number one, we're the majority. And we have a different kind of intuition, we have a different way of thinking than men do, right? Not to put the men down, our men are very important also, but we need to get our women to run also. Because right now in our United States of America, even we're the most powerful country in the world, in terms of having women in government, we're number 70 in the world. Can you imagine that? Number 70. So we've got to do a lot more work. And there was a survey that was done in one of the East Coast colleges, and they asked the male students at this college, how many do you think you're qualified to run for office? 85% of the men said, yes, you know, we're qualified. When they asked the women the same question, only 30% of the women said they were qualified. What's wrong with that, okay? What's wrong with that? So our women have got to understand that they are also qualified to run. And one of the reasons probably is because we as women, we are raised to be victims. From the time that we're little girls, we're told, don't go out there and get that white dress dirty. Don't climb the tree, because you might fall down and hurt yourself. Are you wrestling with your sister or your brother? That's not ladylike. That's what we're told, huh? And so when we think of the animal kingdom, who's the strongest, the male or the female? The female, right? Because they got to watch the babies, right? And so we, unfortunately, in our society, we are told, don't worry about a thing. Somebody's going to protect you. Somebody's going to support you. We're told that. And then we are told, hey, here comes Prince Charming. No. Prince Charming is going to come, and he's going to give you a big kiss, and he's going to wake you up, and you're going to live happily ever after. But then the opposite comes. It was Walt Disney, you know, the Sleeping Beauty and all that stuff. And just the opposite may happen, because a pretender Prince Charming comes, pretendiente, and he gives you a big kiss, and he puts you to sleep. There goes school, there goes career, and then baby's daddy is gone. No, ¿dónde se fue? ¿Dónde se fue? And the woman is left to, you know, try to finish her schooling, and she got a baby to take care of, y todo eso, you know. And so we know that that is wrong. So we got to change the way that we raise our women. We got to raise our women so that they can be strong, so they cannot be dominated. So they cannot be manipulated, right? Because we as women, we think we always have to accommodate somebody else, you know, that we're here to serve somebody else. And that's good. We want to be of service to people. But hey, wait a minute, we got to take care of ourselves, number one, right? And we cannot do that unless women understand nobody owns my body but myself, right? Nobody owns a woman's body but her. And we have to say, you know what? This is my boundary hasta aquí, okay? You don't cross this boundary, okay? You don't cross this boundary. This is my body. Which means that we have to fight for women's right to choose. And I want to say, the other thing too about women, okay? Does this ever happen to you? And that Maria said, when you're in a class or you're in a meeting, and Maria says this wonderful thing, this great idea, nobody heard it. But then Jose says the same thing, and it was, hey, Jose, that's a great idea, right? You know, hey, but I said that first, right? But nobody heard me. So women, when you have an idea, you got to pound the drums, you got to put the lights around it, and you got to say, yes, I did this, I said it. I'm going to give you an example. You all know the phrase, si se puede, right? Yes. Caesar did not come up with that phrase. Doloras Huerta did. I did, okay? Sometimes when a woman stands up for herself, they say, oh, she's conceited, no? You know, and then she's really strong, like the men are strong. It's great for men to be strong, you know? But if a woman is strong, well, they say, oh, she's a bee, right? Yeah, they use that B word. So, you know, women, it's okay. We got to be strong out there. And if they call you the B word, oh, you just have to kind of ignore it. We got to keep on working. We got to make sure that women, we got to take our place, because our place is needed. We got to stand right there, shoulder to shoulder with the man, okay? So that we can make things happen, we can make things better. Because we have, like I say, a different way of thinking, we have great intuition, and we can make things happen. And to the men in the room, I want to say, you got to support the women, okay? You got to support the women. Think of every woman as if she were your sister or your mother, all right? When you look at that woman, don't look at her as a sex object. Okay? Look at that woman como si fuera tu hermana. That's my sister, you know? That's my mother right there, you know? So we have to respect the women. And then also to all the guys in the room, I want to say, tell your mom or tell your grandma or your sister, you got to teach me how to cook, okay? You got to teach me how to play, you know? Because these women today, you know, they're not going to be doing that. They're going to be too busy. They're going to be too busy out there, you know, getting ready, learning, going to school, going to college, learning how to get out there and do the organizing that we need to do to make this world a better place. You know, this is we have to work together to make that happen. And we can't do it if we're dominated. And I'm going to share a word with you. This is from a medicine man. One of my daughters, she just had her birthday recently, and they're very much into indigenous culture, so we did a teepee ceremony all night long. From the time the sun went down till the sun came up, all night long, and they were drumming and they were chanting all night long in this teepee. And this medicine man, a Navajo medicine man, he said these words, I want to share them with you. He said, don't let anybody get in the way of your destiny, okay? Don't let anybody get in the way of your destiny. Think about that. Whatever your heart, the way your heart leads you, what you really love, what you want to do, don't let anybody tell you you can't do it or you shouldn't do it. Follow your heart. Each one of us, God gives us a gift. God gives us a gift. And so we have to follow our heart and follow our gift, and then we can make that happen. And I can say even to myself, when I was a school teacher, and I quit teaching school to go organize farm workers. And everybody in my family said, except my mother and my dad, everybody said, why are you doing that? You have a good job, you're a bilingual school teacher, there were only 3 of us at that time in our whole school district. Why are you going out there and doing that? You know, you have to think about your children. I had 7 kids at the time, going through a divorce. You're crazy to do that. But my heart said, you've got to go and organize farm workers, and I did. So don't let anybody get in the way of your destiny, okay? Just remember that. I'm going to share a couple more words with you. And this is one from Cornell West, who's a great lecturer. When we think about all of the attacks on our immigrant community, attacks on women, attacks on our LGBT community, I want to mention that also. When we have these conversations with our families, remind them lo que dijo Benito Juárez. Benito Juárez dijo, el respeto al derecho ajeno es la paz, right? Respecting other people's rights is peace. How many children a woman wants to have, it's her business, right? Nobody else's business. Who you want to love, who you want to fall in love with, who you want to marry, you should have the right to marry the person that you fall in love with, right? Even if they are of the same sex. Yeah. That's important, okay? El respeto al derecho ajeno es la paz. Respecting other people's rights is peace. Respecting other people's rights is peace. So when we think about the haters out there, okay? Remember these words from Cornel West. This is what he said. Pick up on this one. I love this quote. Justice is the public face of love. When we fight for human rights, for other people's rights, that's what we call justice, right? Justice is the public face of love. Justice is the public face of love. So if we turn that around, when we have discrimination, when we treat other people badly, that's injustice. And that is the public face of hate, right? The public face of the haters. So we are the public face of love, all of us here. And I'm going to share one more word with you. And this is a word that I think you've never heard before. But we think of, hey, isn't it about time that we ended racism? You know, racism is very hurtful, right? And right now, in our foundation, we're trying to work on the whole education issue. So many of our Latino kids are being pushed out of school, expelled and suspended at really big rates, 50% above the norm. And so we have to end that. And we know a lot of that has to do with racism against our African American students and against our Latino students. So we want to end that. So there's one way that we can think about ending racism, and that is to remind ourselves that we are one human family. One human family. And our human family has a name. And we have a scientific name. We have a lot of ethnic groups and a lot of cultures, a lot of nationalities, but we only have one human family. And our human family, remember our human family is, does somebody know out there? What is the scientific name of the human race? Homo sapiens. Somebody said it, okay? And then, where did our human family begin? Where was the origin of our Homo sapiens? Africa. Our human race began in Africa. And then, we traveled across the planet. We went to Asia. We got lighter in skin, came down through the Bering Strait to the Americas. And one of our tribes got lost. They went way up north where it's really cold, and they lost their color, okay? So now they have to go to the tanning salon or to the beach to get their color back. So think about that. Think about that. We all came from Africa. We are all Africans of different shades and colors. All of us. And so we can say to those people in the Ku Klux Klan, White Citizens Council, those members of the Minutemensos, the Tea Party people, those in the Tea Party, you know what? Get over it, you're Africans, okay? They came and they swapped. There was a KTLA, it was a how Latino are you? And they asked me, how Latino are you, And I thought, well, my mother's side of the family came from Spain, my great-grandmother came from Sevilla, and my great-grandfather came from Quebec, era francés, and then my dad's family came from Mexico, from Durango and Zacatecas, right? And so I figured I'm probably 60-40 European, 40% indigenous. And then when I came back, I was 65% European, 35% indigenous. When I asked them, did my Africanness show up? And it did. Yeah, I was 0.003 African. How about that? Okay? So if we all did our DNA, it's going to be in there somewhere. So we have to remember that. Todos somos africanos. We're all Africans. And if we remember that we're one human family, then we know that we have to support each other, all right? And we have to defend each other. Okay, and if we remember that we can end racism, because todos somos una familia, we're all one human family. So I'm going to share a word with you. This is a Zulu word from South Africa, and the word is wozani. I want you to say that word, shout it at the top of your lungs, so all the racists out there, the sexists, the homophobes, okay, they can hear us, okay? So just shout really loud, wozani. All right, I'm going to say 1, 2, 3, everybody shout wozani. Okay, let's go. 1, 2, 3. One more time, a little bit louder. Some people didn't shout, they forgot. Okay, one more time. Let's go. 1, 2, 3. Okay, good. And now, let's do something else. We talked about the power. Where's the power at? In our person, right? In our bodies. This is all the power that we need. So I'm going to say, who's got the power? And say people power, all right? Okay, let's try it. Who's got the power? We got the power! What kind of power? Somebody said Chicano power, that's cool too. Okay, one more time. Again, let's do it really, really loud. Who's got the power? What kind of power? All right, I think we got that message. So then I want to do a big old viva for Cesar Chavez, okay? I want to do a viva for the Dreamers, for all the great work that they've done. So let's do a big viva for Cesar Chavez, one for the Dreamers, okay? And one for todos nuestros emigrantes, all right? For all of our immigrant community. And you just say viva. I'll go first, you just say viva. Que viva Cesar Chavez! Que viva! Que viva the Dreamers! Que viva! Que viva los emigrantes! Que viva! Que viva las mujeres! Que viva! Que viva los estudiantes! Que viva! Que viva los maestros! Que viva! So, are we going to go out there? We're going to do the work that we need to do to build that power, to bring justice to our community? What do we say? No. Okay. We're going to say, remember President Obama? President Obama said, yes, we can, right? And when I met President Obama, he said, I stole your slogan. And I told him, yes, you did. So we're going to say, si se puede. We can all do it together with our people power, our personal power, all of us together. We're going to say, si se puede, but we got to work together. We got to be organized. So let's do an organized hand clap. Okay, todos. Solidarity hand clap. Let's go.
Thank you, Doloras Huerta, for such an inspirational speech. I also forgot to mention, about not too long ago, Doloras Huerta has received the Presidential Medal of Freedom Award from Barack Obama. Now this award is very special because only 50 people have received this award. She's received this award for such great help to our country with women, children, students, workers from across the world.